Hello, I'm Stacy Campbell, Agriculture Extension Agent for the Cottonwood Extension District in Barton and Ellis County, and I'm joined today with Erick DeWolf. Erick is a wheat plant pathologist for K-State Research and Extension. And Erick, we appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks, Stacy. It's good to be here.
Yes, thank you. And Erick, in your position, you cover the whole state of Kansas, so you get around pretty much all 105 counties through the year, and you get to see a lot of different wheat fields, and you get to see a lot of different wheat diseases through the year. I guess the two that I kind of wanted to hone in on that are usually more of an issue, of a concern some years in our wheat growing cycle or year, are the foliar diseases of leaf rust and stripe rust. And so kind of wanted to talk about those two diseases primarily. As you can tell, the people here viewing, we're out here a little early yet to really be looking for those diseases. It's about the end of March. We're probably another month away before that's going to be kind of a concern. But let's just kind of talk about some of our early season indicators when it does become time of some things we want to consider. One of them, of course, is going to be the weather down south, what it's doing. And I'll just kind of let you talk about that a little bit right now.
Okay, so yeah, this is a time here at the end of March on a breezy day where people are often out thinking about the yield potential of their crop. They're thinking about top dressing decisions, but they're only a few weeks away, maybe about a month away from making some of these fungicide decisions that can help keep some of the diseases in check and maintain that yield potential that is there.
Right.
So like you said, this is a time we're often looking for early indicators of the overall disease level. And we'll talk about looking to the south for states like Texas, Oklahoma, where these diseases are often getting established this time of year. Remember, their crop is already greened up in some places of Texas. Even here at the end of March, they're even beginning getting close to flowering. So we have a much better feel for what's happening there on a regional perspective with diseases.
Right. And I know you tuned me into this some years back. There's what's called a cereal rust survey that is comprised of plant pathologists throughout the country, and they give reports as to what they're seeing. And so what's being reported now down in Texas as far as our diseases in the wheat crop down there?
Yeah, that's a good reminder. There's lots of information, sources of information out there that can help us evaluate what's happening on a regional level. Many of my colleagues and myself will contribute to an email exchange where we're trying to keep track of what's going on. And like we said, those early indicators come from the south. So right now the focus is on what's happening in Texas. In April and May, it will be what's happening for us, because that's going to influence what happens in the Dakotas and the northern states and ultimately Canada.
Right.
But as you were mentioning there, the focus on Texas, right now our colleagues in Texas are reporting that both stripe rust and leaf rust have been quite active in south central Texas and even into some areas a little more northern in that portion of the country. Okay. So I think those are one of the early indicators. We're looking at moisture. If Texas has got a good crop going and they are reporting disease, that often sets the stage for us to have above normal risk of us having a disease problem as well.
Right. And of course, as we've mentioned, we're still 2 to 4 weeks out. The weather could change. Obviously, that's always kind of first and foremost is what's the weather doing, maybe what are the forecasts too, how's our moisture situation as well. And then as the crop is advancing, kind of at what stage should a person maybe start looking at their fields? Okay.
Yeah, I think at this time of year, at the green up time, we're mostly trying to evaluate the yield potential of our crop based on stand and tillering. Last year was a year where a lot of people struggled to get their wheat planted. So if you were on the late side of that and you maybe didn't quite get the stand that you were hoping for, that time for your wheat to stool out, that can influence your yield potential. Ultimately, that influences the decision to make a fungicide application or not as well.
Right. And the main leaf that we're ultimately wanting to protect, when we're talking stripe rust or leaf rust is which leaf?
So ultimately, as our crop goes through those jointing stages of growth and approaches the emergence of the last leaf that we refer to as the flag leaf, and then on into the heading stages of growth, is usually the time we're looking to make the fungicide application. So, but it's that flag leaf that contributes the majority of the yield potential to our crop, some depending on which crop physiologist you asked, it could be somewhere between 70–80% of the overall yield potential of the crop comes from that last leaf or the upper two leaves of that crop.
Right.
So that's a very important leaf that to try and protect with a foliar fungicide and protect from these foliar diseases such as stripe rust and leaf rust.
Okay, and so we'll when we resume back up after a commercial break, we'll go into maybe talking about some other factors to consider in season, such as the stand of the crop we didn't mention, yield potential, the variety, and some other things, the fungicides that we can use, and so forth. So we'll go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
A step towards better health.
At High Plains Podiatry, the team's greatest joy is seeing you doing what you love to do. Dr. Rob Hens addresses all problems of the foot and ankle with leading-edge capabilities. They travel extensively, serving in satellite clinics near you. Their growth in Southwest Nebraska is a direct result of the caring and personal treatment they give their patients. Let High Plains Podiatry bring the pep back in your step. Now seeing patients in Norton and Colby, Kansas. Call today, 877-345-3668.
What a girl wants in her home kitchen. Ease of use, flexibility, fun, the latest kitchen design, Frigidaire Professional Real Stainless Steel for fewer finger smudges, a French door refrigerator, convection cooking, and quiet dishwasher. Have the staff at Genuine Appliance in Hayes demonstrate new Frigidaire Gallery appliances to find what you want. Genuine Appliance at 1224 East 27th Street in Hayes. Everything a girl wants.
It's 3 a.m. and you're wide awake, hoping your business is secure from the newest security breach. But hope isn't a strategy. Effectiveness is. What would protect a mouse from a cat? Hope? Nope. But what if the mouse could track the cat's every move, see where it lives, see where it hunts? Advantage Mouse. Nex-Tech gets security. We designed our network and built it around the most powerful security in the world, which means you don't have to hope. You can just get a good night's rest. Keep it simple and leave your security to the experts.
Well, welcome back. I'm Stacy Campbell, Agriculture Extension Agent for the Cottonwoods Extension District, and I'm joined here with Erick DeWolf, wheat plant pathologist for K-State Research and Extension, or I kind of like to refer to him as our wheat disease guy when we're out here in our field days usually. So Erick, we want to kind of talk about some of those in-season factors to consider with our wheat crop if we're thinking maybe down the road are we going to have to apply a fungicide or not. Obviously, getting a good stand is important, and then we have to look at, what's the moisture been like, what's our yield potential, and then from there, or maybe you might just want to talk a little bit more about some of those in-season factors.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good reminder for folks that ultimately that fungicide decision really begins with evaluating the yield potential of their crop. Here we are at late March on a breezy day, and a lot of people are thinking about that green up and herbicide applications, but the fungicide decision's not that far away. So as we start to move through our jointing and approach those flag leaf emergence stages of growth, we start to get a better feel for what our overall yield potential will be. We can see how our fertility program has been paying off for us. We can get a feel for what the moisture conditions have been like in this growing season. And we then can do some evaluations based on stand and tiller counts of the overall yield potential of the crop.
Okay, sure. And then also, when it gets closer to the time and maybe we're wondering if we need to consider a fungicide, and we've determined maybe, yes, we've got some good yield potential here. Varieties also play into this. We know we have some varieties that have good resistance, some with moderate resistance, and some that don't have much resistance.
Right.
And that certainly needs to be a factor to consider.
I think it does also. That's a good reminder also, in that all varieties are not equal in their disease susceptibility. So varieties that are highly susceptible to some of our main diseases, such as stripe rust and leaf rust, are often a prime candidate for a fungicide decision. But if you did take the time to do some homework and look at some of the resources that either we at K-State put out in our wheat variety disease and insect rating publication, or some of the other great resources that are also out there coming from companies or other institutions, there's a lot of information helping to inform that decision. But ultimately, varieties that are resistant to the diseases that are most problematic in any given year often do not benefit to the same degree as a more susceptible variety would.
Right.
So knowing that your yield potential, knowing your susceptibility of your variety are two major factors of influencing whether you're going to get the bang for your buck out of a fungicide investment.
Right. And also those resources, as you'd mentioned, are updated every year. They're based off of prior year's observations in field of those varieties, because as we know, sometimes as we grow more of that variety, the disease resistance can start breaking down. So I guess just an important point is that those are updated on a yearly basis, and they should be, you know, pretty accurate, realizing we are kind of dealing with a moving target when we're talking about Mother Nature.
Right.
And then one other thing that just popped in my mind is we won't ever create that perfect wheat variety. When one seems to have good resistance to stripe rust, its leaf rust might be so-so, or it may not even have good resistance to leaf rust. So producers need to be aware of that as well.
Yeah, I think some of the research that we've done at K-State is certainly, as we summarized a moment ago, is the more susceptible varieties do tend to give a larger fungicide response. But there's also, it can be the number of vulnerabilities that you have as well. So as you said, there's no perfect wheat variety, but if you have a wheat variety that say there are 5 major vulnerabilities as opposed to a variety that just has one vulnerability, you have a better chance of making it through a growing season without having a major problem.
Right.
So usually we'll direct people to pick up as many or as much of that genetic resistance as possible in their variety selection, and that greatly reduces their need for a fungicide the following year. So taking a little bit of time, doing that homework, investing in some of the best available genetics is usually time and money well spent. And this is one of the times where it makes a big difference at the wheat fungicide decision time.
Right. And then timing, I guess maybe we can touch on that just a minute. We kind of already did in the last segment, but we're wanting to primarily get that flag leaf covered. So we're wanting to be out there and scouting those fields really just a little prior to the flag leaf, and of course as the flag leaf has came out and the crop is developing, just how important is it if we start seeing some disease down lower, we probably need to go back to that field and keep watching it and see if it progresses up, and that's going to depend on weather and variety and so forth like that.
Yeah, I think you've touched on a lot of different things there that are really important to be watching at this point. So I think as we get through the jointing and we're approaching those flag leaf emergence stages of growth, remember we want to time that fungicide, as you indicated, to protect that flag leaf. So we usually want to wait till the flag leaf is at least emerging or fully out. And then that's when the fungicide would be applied. But we want to back our scouting up a couple of weeks from that to try and get an idea of what's happening there. As we're already seeing the disease get established, we can continue to monitor that and see if the disease is increasing. If the weather continues to be conducive, that's often an indicator that it's going to spread to that flag leaf soon after emergence and set the stage for major yield losses.
Right, yes. Yes, as we know, I mean, weather is so important, and obviously we get those forecasts, but we don't always know exactly if the weather is going to continue to be wet and conducive for those diseases or not. So oftentimes by scouting, looking at the variety, the yield potential, we do still have to do kind of some rolling of the dice at times.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's always some uncertainty. We can't predict whether it's the season's going to turn off hot and dry, like it often does in Kansas right after we get to the heading and flowering stages of growth. But I think that's why we're using all the information we have at the time with yield potential and what's going on with disease to make the best decision we can.
Right, and we're about to have to go to commercial, but mentioning hot and dry, it might be important to just mention that the stripe rust is more likes cooler weather, and of course it needs moisture and humidity, But then as it gets warmer, leaf rust likes hotter weather, but it also needs the moisture and humidity as well.
Right. I think moisture there is the key driver for both stripe rust and leaf rust. Stripe rust does tend to be favored by a little cooler temperature, and that often allows it to get established earlier in the growing season. And that's part of why stripe rust is such a problem for us, is because once it gets established, it has more and more time to damage that whole infrastructure of the plant that's producing the grain that ultimately we want to harvest.
Right, and certainly we can have years where we can see both on a leaf as well.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, okay, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with our last segment, where we'll talk about some of the products that we use to fight our foliar leaf diseases on our wheat.
Don't let the weather outside interfere with the comfort of your home. Contact AquaShield Roofing and Construction today for all your home repairs, no matter what the season. AquaShield Roofing and Construction specializes in roofing, siding, guttering, insulation, windows, doors, remodeling, and construction. We offer free estimates, and our customer satisfaction is our priority. Don't put off repairs due to the season. Call AquaShield Roofing and Construction today. At Rogers & Associates Insurance, we serve the Midwest. We offer home, auto, commercial, and farm insurance policies and provide solid options for life and health insurance. For those unexpected life events like hail, wind, deer crashes, fender benders, and the little things in between, we can help you ensure what matters most in your life. Let us help you design a plan that meets your needs and budget. Visit us online or call us at 1-800-569-0118 to learn more.
Seems like the world is always changing, and like the weather in Kansas, change is inevitable. Mobile technology improves the lives of everyone, not just those living in a city. Nex-Tech Wireless is right there with you, providing expanded LTE coverage for everything from phones to farm equipment. We are devoted to help Kansas work smarter and live better. Nex-Tech Wireless. Time for something different.
Well, welcome back. I'm Stacy Campbell, Agriculture Extension Agent, and Erick DeWolf is our wheat plant pathologist for K-State Research and Extension. And Erick, we're kind of rounding this program out. We've been talking about foliar leaf diseases of wheat, primarily stripe rust, leaf rust, and to round this out, we're going to now talk about if a person thinks maybe they need to possibly put a fungicide on. There are various products out there. We're just going to jump right in and let you talk about some of those fungicide products and application timing, pre-harvest interval, and even maybe some differences in cost that guys want to look at as well.
Yeah, so I guess when I usually start thinking about fungicides, one of the first things that comes to mind is different classes of fungicides that are available. So there's a class of fungicides that we call strobularian class of fungicides. There's a triazole class of fungicides. There's a new one called the SDHI that is new to the field crops market that adds some diversity as well. And then there's also a number of products that are available that mix these different classes of fungicides or modes of action together as well. The bottom line on a lot of these, and in the research and testing that I've done at K-State and many of my colleagues throughout the region and throughout the country have done, is that the bottom line is the growers have a lot of very good to excellent options to choose from. And ultimately, they can rest assured that the products that they're picking will, in most situations, on most diseases, will do an excellent job for them.
Right, and we mentioned in the last segment about some information, some publications we have. I know there's a publication that just rates or shows the different fungicides available and kind of rates their effectiveness on control, so we have that information available as well.
We do. There's a publication specifically on the fungicide efficacy for control of foliar diseases that's available from K-State Research and Extension as well. And that publication will cover a lot of the information that we'll cover here in our time together as well. That if growers or if individuals want to pursue that information or have some timely reminders, it'd be a great resource for them.
And what's been, the evolution that we've seen, I can remember 25 years ago, I mean, the fungicides were actually quite expensive, but they've really decreased in cost significantly to where it's made it much more feasible, plausible to put them out on wheat if you look like you've
Right.
got some good yield potential there.
Yeah, I think so. As I've been tracking the range of the cost of fungicides over the last few years, and there still are some higher dollar options. Some of them on the high end if we put the product and application costs together. In some situations, I'm hearing of fungicide costs close to $25 an acre.
Wow. Yeah.
But on the low side of that range, there's also things that are product plus application costs probably less than $10 an acre, based on our experience in some prior years or previous years. So there's a tremendous range in costs here that if people are willing to take their time, make some phone calls, and do a little bit of homework, it can be there can be a big difference in the cost of fungicides that are out there.
Right, and look at those active ingredients, what they are, and see, how effective they are against what we're trying to fight ultimately.
Yeah, that's right. Many times there are some active ingredients that are out there that have been on the market for a while, and they are available in different products. And sometimes the product lineups in the cost are significantly different than each other.
Right. And then sometimes I know guys maybe kind of delay and are still thinking about it. And then maybe sometimes when they decide to pull that trigger, hopefully they're not too late, that flag leaf hasn't been compromised too much with disease, which leads into the post-harvest interval. How late can we be applying these?
Yeah, so I think maybe we can talk for a moment about the overall window for fungicide applications. And oftentimes, remember, a lot of these products are systemic in nature in that they're absorbed readily into the leaf tissue and not subject to wash off by rain. Okay. But only the tissues that are out, or the leaves that are out at the time of application, will have protection from that fungicide.
Okay.
That said, that influences the kind of when our fungicide timing window will open. So remember, our flag leaf, that upper leaf, is what contributes the majority of our yield potential of our crop, and that's going to be the leaf that we want to make sure we get the fungicide on. So when our fungicide leaf is emerging, or our flag leaf is emerging, that's the leaf that we want to protect. Flag leaf emergence signals opening of that window. Yeah. Then on the back side, most fungicides can be applied through the heading stages of growth. Once we start to see the anthers, the male flower parts that shed the pollen, begin to emerge, then we start to see some products that are now off-label just by growth stage alone. The next thing is going to be related to the pre-harvest interval. Some products have that growth stage cutoff specifically. Others have a specific number of days that you have to elapse before you can harvest that wheat. So a lot of our products are either the growth stage cutoff or have a 30-day pre-harvest interval. There's a few out there that are 35, even 40 plus days. So it's important to be keeping in mind that portion of it as well when trying to make your fungicide selection.
Right. Yep. Yeah, and I know, it's been some years back, there was some issues one year where some products maybe were applied a little late, and elevators, rightfully so, have to be very aware of those things, and can't always take wheat if the product was applied too late.
That's right. Unfortunately, there are situations where we have seen fungicides that have been misapplied or off-label applications, and that does affect not only that individual grower, but it can affect an entire community that's trying to deliver their wheat to a common elevator.
Right. So just kind of do your homework there and make sure you get it on in a timely manner, and that basically that the harvest interval is past the time when you've applied it. So, well, Eric, we appreciate you coming on today and talking to us about the foliar diseases of wheat, primarily stripe rust and leaf rust. And you might just kind of mention, we talked about the resources, but where possibly they can go find some of those resources that you guys have available.
There are a lot of resources that are available. We mentioned a couple of important ones related to variety selection and trying to identify whether your variety is vulnerable to the different diseases that are causing problems this year, and then also the Foliar Fungicide efficacy publication that can help people evaluate different products. We also encourage people to be either subscribing directly or plugged into some of the communication channels that the university puts out. K-State's Agronomy e-updates, our websites, newsletters, newspapers, Agriculture Today, radio, and these kind of video opportunities are all places that you can use to stay plugged in to what's happening with the disease situation, and hopefully that information will help growers make a timely and informed decision.
Right, right. And I know that we try to keep quite a few of those resources or links to it on our website, which is www.cottonwood.ksu.edu. So if people want to go to that website, they can probably get linked into many of those resources, or they could just give us a call at 785-628-9430. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in to this edition of Extension Ed Talks.